If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.
What are you doing this Thursday night? Why not drop by Sullivan's Steakhouse on Light Street? A fabulous dining room, a sexy bar, jazz music, $5 martinis, and food specials. Seafood, steaks, and value. That's Sully's.
Good afternoon. Thanks to everybody for joining me this afternoon. We got a beautiful Friday, May the 8th. 2009. Thanks again for having me here on 1570 WNST. My name is Jay Trucker, i.e. the Baltimore Orioles Examiner, i.e. the professor, and what I'd like to do today is hold class. This class values participation, so please do call in at 410-481-1570. I want to start off with a quick announcement. This is straight from the BaltimoreSun.com. Just in, Rachel Alexandra, the super filly who dominated the field of the Kentucky Oats, is headed to Baltimore to compete in the 134th Preakness Stakes, and that's according to bloodhorse.com. More on that in just a moment. What I'd like to do today is begin off with a quick announcement, or more of a request for you at home. And if you agree or disagree, please do feel free to give me a ring and let me know what you think. But what I want to ask the fans going to Camden Yards today to please not boo Alex Rodriguez when he makes his 2009 MLB debut at Camden Yards. Please don't boo Alex Rodriguez, or let me modify that statement and say, don't boo Alex Rodriguez any more than you would boo Derek Jeter. And you feel free to boo the both of them, and Mark Teixeira, and Jabba Chamberlain, and Phil Hughes, and Johnny Damon, and everybody, all 25 guys in a Yankees uniform. Boo them all the way back up the turnpike, boo them all the way to their taxpayer-supported, quote-unquote, mystique-filled cathedral in the Bronx, if you'd like. But don't boo Alex Rodriguez because he abused steroids, because how quickly we forget here in Baltimore the steroid problems that we have had in the past, but also currently have on our 25-man roster. I'm referring, of course, to #1 in your program and in your hearts, Brian Roberts. I saw Drew Forrester's blog on WNST.net just a couple of minutes before I got in here today, and he touches on some of the same issues. But let me add this. Alex Rodriguez apologized for being a steroid abuser. It was a pretty flimsy apology. It wasn't a great apology. He came out, he said he allegedly used steroids between 2001 and 2003, and at that time, when he was in his early to mid-20s, he was young and foolish, and he didn't know what he was doing. Brian Roberts did almost the same thing, and we forgave him. And as far as I know, Brian Roberts has never been booed here at Camden Yards, and he's never been booed anywhere where he has gone. And I'm not suggesting we should boo Brian Roberts, or any fans of opposing teams should boo Brian Roberts. That's why I've said we should give the same treatment to Alex Rodriguez and to all of the would-be or possibly could-be future Hall of Famers who are now getting into trouble for PED. I'm talking, of course, about Manny Ramirez, Roger Clemens, Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, because it's foolish to think that only the top 1% of professional athletes or professional baseball players abuse steroids. It's foolish to think that only a portion of the top 10% of professional baseball players make that kind of a mistake. Brian Roberts is a great player. I'm glad he plays for the Orioles. What happened with Roberts was that when he was named in the Mitchell Report, he took his sweet time, he got all his lawyers together, he got his agents together, he went on the flagship station, and he took a big, wet cougar kiss from Anita Marks in the flimsiest of apologies. And what Brian Roberts said, if you remember, was, "I tried it once, and I didn't like it, and I never tried it again." For those of you who have children who are teenagers, or for those of you who were once a teenager, and that's all of us, you've probably heard that one before. I tried it once, but I didn't like it, and I never tried it again. So, if that's a good enough excuse, I think Alex Rodriguez's similarly weak excuse should probably work. Also, Greg Zaun, who I think was a great pickup, the Denver's nephew, a .251 career catcher, a guy who's supposed to come in and mentor young Matt Wieters. He's another guy who was named in the Mitchell Report, who when he was signed, no one even mentioned it. And the story with Zaun is even stranger because he didn't even apologize. Greg Zaun took his time, took a couple of months, and up in Toronto during spring training following the Mitchell report in 2007, Zahn told the assembled reporters in Canada when he finally spoke and agreed to only speak once, and they said, "What is this all about?" He said, I gave a teammate a check, I signed my name to it, I didn't enter an amount on that check, and I didn't fill out the to line. So that teammate of mine must have signed my name, forged it, and must have also signed the amount of $500. Go to the internet, search Greg Zahn Mitchell report, and check. The image comes right up. He's not denying that it was his check, but he's just denying that he'd actually written it to Kirk Radomski. So it's his signature, but not his signature saying that Kirk Radomski should be the recipient. I don't think that makes Greg Zahn a bad guy at all. And that's why I think we have to admit that despite the fact that Alex Rodriguez wears pinstripes and kisses himself in the mirror, he's not any worse than the rest of these guys. Moving on to the Orioles season. The last time
If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.